Now to the final section of the tape, which is coat maintenance. Now I first have to introduce to you, or rather reintroduce to you, a tool that I used on the hindquarters, which was this little knife. Now this little knife is an undercoating knife, or what I shall call an undercoating knife. It is in fact a little English knife with sort of fairly fine serrations. I showed it to you in the introduction. Now, the purpose of this knife is to cut out the actual undercoat of the dog, and I will show you how I use this on a couple of different dogs so you can see how to deal with a couple of different sorts of coats. We hold the knife like so, approximately 135 degrees to the line of travel, fairly flat on the dog's coat, not vertically this way and not dead flat that way, but somewhere between. Now the action is holding the skin firm once more. See how my hand's up on the shoulder? You simply scrape downwards. Come around this way, boy. And that removes all the dead hair, the dirt, the fluff, and in fact what makes the coat sit up. If I turn the dog a little bit more round that way, you can see those bits coming out. See down here? You can see those bits coming out. And that is in fact undercoat and dirt and muck. And I will now show you what I've got out on the knife itself. You will see here there is a mixture of dirt, grey hair which is undercoat, see the dirt there? See? That's dirt. Here. Grey hair which is undercoat, and these pieces here, just a small amount of the top hair, which is loose and which keeps the coat basically in order. So you're removing coat all the time. Now this dog has about 7 weeks coat on him now. So there's not a lot of old coat to remove. I'll show you this again on one of the others. But a good scrape over with the knife all over the black area, from the top of the neck, down on the shoulders, down each side, down the back, and in, as I showed you when we were doing the back legs, in that triangle across the back leg, like so. Those are the only areas that are undercoated. Then, to finish the dog off, I use a tool I haven't introduced before, a fine comb, which is this one. This is a flea comb, actually, a very, very fine comb, stronger than the normal flea comb, but with very fine teeth. Never, never, never use this comb on the legs or the beard, but purely on the back. And after you've used the small knife, you hold this comb also at approximately 135 degrees to the line of travel, and you pull the comb through the coat, and that will remove anything which the knife has left behind. Just right through the coat like that. And you'll find on this comb also, you get the rest of the dead hair and the rest of the dirt, like so. you then finish off your dog with an old rough towel, my kids are 20 odd years old and this is a nappy. Rough towel in one hand, well this was a nappy I should say. Rough towel in one hand, comb in the other, plenty of elbow grease. And I can assure you if you work over your dog like that with those three things, firstly the small knife, then this comb and the towel alternately, you'll keep the body coat looking nice for 3 or 4 months on end without much further maintenance at all. One little word of warning, however, for you people who are going to show the dog. I mentioned in the stripping out section that all dogs dip in the middle of the back, which is here. So, when you actually rake the coat, it's quite a good idea to avoid just that section in the middle of the back, so that there's a little bit more hair there than what there is there and there, which straightens up the top line a bit. And if in fact you do the reverse and you take it all out from the centre of the back and you rake it really well there and here, you'll actually make the dog look like it's got a roller coaster back, like that, or top line. Instead of the back being really straight, it'll look like that. And I can assure you this dog's got a lovely nice straight back. That's all done with the combing. So just make very certain you use the undercoating knife well on the section here over the withers. Leave that section in the middle of the back to a greater extent, and then do it well over the rump and the side. And that way you will keep the dog's back nice and straight. I will now show you how to work on a dog with a different type of coat. Hello. This is a little sweetheart bitch of mine called Australian Champion Ranger R Rated. Kate, we call her. She is a daughter of Rolls-Royce, the dog I've been doing all the filming with. But she has a completely and utterly different type of coat altogether. You can see that she hasn't got the same colour. Her furnishings are actually a little bit softer. She's very pretty indeed. But these coats are a lot of work. They're not any less correct, but a lot of work. Now, round we go, Kate. Good girl. Now, just a word about the furnishings. It's a matter of do as I say, don't do as I do, because you've seen me combing the furnishings through many, many times in the video itself. But for you people who are going to show, once a week only is sufficient to comb the furnishings, just enough to keep the knots out. And for you people who want a nice looking pet, probably once a week is enough for you as well. So go steady on the comb, only use that coarse end of the comb and never the fine edge on the furnishings themselves. If you want to give the coat a quick comb through, you can use this end, but please only the coarse end on your dog's furnishings, and don't overcomb them or you'll lose the furnishings altogether. Now, we rake this coat in exactly the same way as you saw me do Rolls-Royce, holding the skin firm and just through like so. This bitch has a rolled coat, So in addition to undercoating the coat, exactly as you saw me do on Rolls Royce, see, pulling out the dirt and so on with this same little knife. But in addition, I have taken out all long hairs on this coat. Now this coat has never been stripped. The bitch is over 3 years old and the coat has never been stripped, bald, as you saw me do in part 2. And you can see quite clearly when I comb that backwards the different lengths of hair that there is on there. See how those bits here? That bit here is actually longer than this piece here. That's only that length. That's that length. Now how you roll a coat is purely by combing it backwards and then literally plucking out, finger and thumb, pretty well, one hair at a time, all those hairs which interfere with the top line of the dog or with the natural line of the dog, or any hairs which are longer or in the least bit untidy. And the result is that you can leave a coat then looking very tidy and flat. Now it's an extremely tedious process, but this way you can maintain a coat in optimum condition and keep the dog in the ring for long periods at a time. And that is the technique of rolling a coat. And the last interesting thing I'll show you while I've got this bitch on the table is the fact that she has got a grey undercoat. Now, this upsets a few people. There is absolutely nothing wrong with it. It just makes it a little bit more difficult to take out with this undercoating knife. But the grey undercoat is oily and it's a result of the bitch's Otterhound ancestry, and it's once again present in some strains. So if you have a dog with a greyness through the coat like that, get what you can out with this little knife. It is not a fault. In fact, quite on the contrary, it is correct. But it's just a menace to try and keep the coat looking nice when they do have this grey undercoat. So just persevere with it and eventually you'll get it looking just like that, neat and flat, just with constant work each day. I have here Australian Champion Reindeer Ragtime, a 9-month-old puppy. And here I am showing you a completely and utterly different coat once again, but still maintained with this little knife. Now this bitch is a beautiful, vibrant black and tan. This is a really easy care coat. This coat has been stripped, so it's all the one length. The advantage of a coat like this is that it doesn't require the hours of work that are rated, or Katie that I had on before requires, but the disadvantage of a dog like this is that the furnishings are not as profuse and hence the dog isn't quite as pretty, actually. But there's a lot of judges that prefer these very black and tan bitches and dogs, and I do think that they look very striking in the ring. I am now going to show you on this bitch how to layer the tan. From time to time you will see that there's untidy pieces of hair like this coming up on the tan. And when you actually strip those out, you will see that there is stuff underneath which is quite neat. Now, as I was showing you on Katie, or I rated, that you can just take long hairs out in exactly the same way. On the tan, you can do exactly the same thing. And if you just brush the hair up like that and take the long hairs out with your knife or with your fingers, you will keep your tan lovely and even and neat. Can you see how much better that looks now that I've just taken that ridge off? And now I'll just work down on this little piece down here. See those hairs there? Brush them back so that the long hairs show, holding the skin firm from on top and just pulling. And I'm only taking very few hairs at a time now, halfway along their length. And there underneath is a nice richly coloured layer. So, if you want to maintain this beautiful tan on your dog's shoulders and head, you must go over the dog every week if you wish to show them. And that keeps the new coat coming through, which has, of course, the best colour and texture. Look what I have. 3 groomed Airedales. I'm very proud of that. And I wish you all a lot of satisfaction with your dog.